Director Record? Here. Director Duell?
Here.
Director Wellman?
Here.
Chair Sasnet?
Here.
Please let the record show that Director Stock is absent.
All right, thank you. And now we'll have our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. The next item on our agenda is report on closed session, and there is nothing to report at this time. Thank you. Item number 5 is our public comment. This portion of the meeting is reserved for any person desiring to address the board on any matter not on this agenda and over which this board has jurisdiction. Please be advised, however, the Brown Act prohibits action on items that are not listed on the agenda or properly added to the agenda under the provisions of the Brown Act. Board members may, however, respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. Also, the board may take actions to direct staff to place a matter on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Please step to the podium and state your name for the record before making your comments. Are there any comments from the community this evening?
Good evening. I'm Robert Bowers from Woodward West, right up the street of everybody. And of course, everybody knows that we've closed operations officially, and we're going to be shutting down the entire park area. But I will be your POC from here on out, I guess, officially, unofficially designated. I will be hanging around until the property gets dispositioned, whatever they intend to do with the property. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm the person to contact. That's all.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes.
Robert, I want everybody in the room to hear me say thank you for being a wonderful community partner, always helping us with all of our events and stepping up. And I would like to let the board know, if you have been to our Oktoberfest, you know that the Woodward always supplies us with trailers of large Gatorade containers for water, and they graciously donated one to us. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Are there any other items from the community this evening? Okay, we'll move on to new business. This portion of the meeting is reserved for directors to present the board of directors and the public information, announcements, and items that have come to their attention. No formal action will be taken. A board member may request that an item be placed for consideration at a future board meeting. Board?
I have nothing to say, which in fact is untrue because I just said something. Just on a personal note, so nobody has to wonder what's going on, I had some skin cancer removed from underneath my eye. It involves a lot of cutting and stitching, and that's why it looks the way it does. And I've learned never to ask the doctor, hey, doc, what's under my eye here?
Oh. Yeah, I thought maybe you lost a pickleball.
Oh, no, that's true.
I do have one item, and what I would like to do is have the board, or have the general manager, if possible, place on the agenda for January the possibility of reinstating the CC&R committee that was taken away because of Proposition A, and that would be a nice start to the new year. Thank you. If there are no other items, we'll move on to the next. All right, and that is item number 7, which is our police report.
And Madam President, something did come up where Chief Crowell cannot be here this evening. The board can either accept the report without the verbal background, or maybe ask Chief Crowell if he can cover 2 months in December.
Are we dark in December?
No, we are not.
We're not dark.
The auditor will be here. So
okay. Very good. Good to know. Thank you. Board, do you have an opinion?
We can just accept it the way it is.
All right. So we'll have to have a vote on receive and file?
Yes.
All right. So all in favor of receiving and filing the police report as is.
Who's done it first? And
Oh, I'm
who's done it
sorry.
second?
Yeah, that would be nice, huh? We need a motion to
I'll make a motion to accept the police report as is.
Second.
Thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for that. All right, we'll move on to the next item, which is our consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the board or an audience member requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. There are 5 items on the consent calendar this month. They are the approval of the minutes from the October 21st, 2025 regular board meeting, review of financial reports, approval of checks for October 2025, approval of CalPERS retirement payments, and review of well production report. Are there any items that needed to be removed from the consent calendar?
No.
Okay, then we need a motion to accept.
I make a motion that we accept the consent calendar received and filed.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, item number 9 on the agenda is the banking signature cards. The board to approve the list of names authorizing Bank of Sierra to accounts financial transactions. And is there any information that we need to know about that?
Yes, and the recommendation, on the, ASI will need to be read specifically for the record so that we
Okay.
can take that to the bank.
Okay, let me grab that real quick then. That is, let me find it. Let's see, where is it listed? Okay, you've got it listed up here. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, the background, each time there is a change in staffing and our board members, both accounts at Bank of the Sierra require board meeting minutes listing the names of who will be authorized signers and new signature cards executed. The recommendation from the general manager is to approve removing Jenny Lynn Morris from accounts 3906 and 0029 and removing Donald W. Napier from account number 3906. Approve the addition of April Calhoun to accounts 3906 and 0029 and the addition of Jerry Stock to account number 3906. So we need a motion with a recommendation.
I make a motion to approve removing Jenny Lynn Morris from accounts 3906 and 0029 and removing Donald W. Napier from account 3906. I also approve the addition of April Calhoun to account 3906 and 0029 and the addition of Jeffrey Stock to account 3906.
I'll second. Go ahead, Don.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, the next item on the agenda is our update, resident request to abandon equestrian easement. The board is to hear an update on information regarding the request to abandon equestrian easement on parcel number 448-250-13. This was tabled at the October meeting and was a request from the property owner for the board to approve the abandonment of the equestrian easement located on her property. The board will hear from Steve Cook on his findings after hiking the easement. Thank you.
Hi. So I, the other day, I hiked down from the trail entry point on, just below Peregrine Place at the top, northern part of Jacks Hill, the very top, essentially. And these are the 2 tracks, that I use. So if you look on the far right, the red line right by the term shared data where it starts there on the bottom, that's where I began. And then came down. If you could raise the image a little bit at the bottom there.
Way at the bottom right.
There you go. So I came down that line and following the trail easement and then proceeded to where it forks, then headed westward, and then went northwest. And you can see the lines are pretty straight there, which gives you, my tracks are pretty straight, which gives you a feeling that the ground is not very steep. The slopes are shallow.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get up there, where it says 11/12/2005, and I think that's the date that I did it, then I started going down the easement towards Jack Springs Road, which on the far left side, the white line is Jack Springs. It's a cul-de-sac that terminates there. And it's roughly from, and I don't recall whether it's at the top of Jack's Hill or it's my place on Peregrine immediately above, but I think it's like a 913-foot drop in elevation between the 2 points.
Oh.
So it's just about the highest spot. It's an awesome trail to hike.
Yeah.
Up is a challenge. and so I went down and I got off. If you see the purple lines, those are the property lines. And so what I was trying to do is come down and stay close to the line, but I got north of the line, so I varied off of the easement. It's a 100-foot easement, the whole distance, and on that property line. And I got off of it because it turns out it's easier to get lost when you're going downhill than it is uphill because you're going slower uphill, and you have less of a view, so you pay closer attention to where you are. And so I pulled back, but there's a lot of spots, and the color variations in the background there have to do with difficulty. So the higher the colors get, the steeper the slope. And in that area, there are several 100-foot segments, which are literally. I took my rangefinder with me, and for the golf course, so I could measure slope. And there are many areas that are 30 to 33% slope. Yeah. And so I was, both trying to determine, I've been on this trail multiple times, but both trying to determine for your average hiker what the difficulty level would be like. And this is on a scale of 1 to 10, this is a 10, particularly going up. But I also want to determine, could a horse navigate it, given the boulders and the trees and the fallen trees. And so the answer to that is yes, if you're the man from Snowy River. Or if you're on a mule. I've done mules in the Sierras before, and they're great on slopes, but we don't allow mules that live in Stallion, technically. They do exist, but they're not in the CCRs. So regardless, the smooth line I took all the way down to Jack Springs, and you can see where the two lines combine at the very end. It's around 250 feet at that segment there. And that's what I was proposing before, that at that entry point, by Jack Springs, we could narrow it. That wouldn't necessarily be a problem. I measured it's about 250 feet. Now, when I reversed and came up, you could see all the switchbacks that I was doing. Yeah. So now, I'm 70. It didn't kill me. I'm in great shape. I work out all the time. But this is not a trail that, I would publish on a paper map for anybody to go on. They can have the tracks if they want them. It is an easement. It's great. But I don't want people getting in trouble up there because you really can't. You can't carry them out, easily if somebody gets hurt. So, but it's a great trail. So the point is that coming back up, I stayed closer to the line, and I did a lot of switchbacks. I did not have to do any bouldering. I was able to get around any slippery rocks without a problem. I only crossed over 1 or 2 dead trees. Other than that, I could stay within my tracking device told me was the easement. And I think on the way up, the worst case, I was like 75 feet off the property line, somewhere in there. But I would caution you too, if you're thinking about making a change in this easement, I wouldn't want to get rid of it. It's a great trail. But if you're thinking about narrowing it, I wouldn't do it beyond the first couple hundred feet. But if you are thinking about doing it, you got to have a surveyor come out there and determine the pins on those 2 points and mark it, and then also show the offset for the easement, so that I could make sure that I wasn't in a GPS shadow. I've seen shadowing in a couple of places in Stallion on South Boundary. It's ugly, and over coming up the south slope of Condor. The GPS will get off. I couldn't test it here because there are no waypoints I could take because there weren't any pins on the ends of either boundary on their property. Couldn't find it with a metal detector either. And so I couldn't do a correlation between you know, the physical, where the pin was and how the GPS was reading. So, you know, if you're gonna make changes, have a surveyor come out and do it. The other thing that I noticed, and I saw it before, but I saw it again, is that when you come in off Jack Springs, and I don't know if any of you had a chance to go over and look at the flags. Okay. They have private property, no trespassing. And that's on the easement. And so that's obviously not appropriate. And the second thing is, it's a big property, and the elk do flow through here. And if one wants to hunt, and, you know, the law allows you to do that because you're more than 150 yards from an occupied dwelling, but you can't shoot across a public, you know, highway or easement. So that's something the owner obviously would need to be aware of, because, you know, on a lot of our trails, I see small targets where people are blinking, and they're right on the line because they want to shoot away from their property. You can't do that. And the chief has gone out, you know, when I've notified him before and let people know, but it's just something to be aware of. So, you know, surveying, signage, shooting, these are all things to be aware of. But the trail is very usable. It's a great trail. The tracks will be available. I'll do it again and get cleaner tracks that are closer to what appears to be the property line. And obviously, you know, I mentioned last time when the owner was here that I didn't think that they would want to, given the cost, put a fence on that line. Because if you think of the grinding lock area, we've got almost all the property's fenced, and then you've got an alley that goes up there, so it's clear where people can go and not go. But here, would they do that? It's really important that, once again, to get a survey to make sure that any fence they put in would be off of the easement. So my recommendation is, A, to keep it. It's navigable, certainly for hikers. And B, if you were to make a change, only do it after it's surveyed and the easement is marked out well, and we can eyeball it and make sure it's still the case. And I would only do the first 250 feet. Now, that doesn't compromise their development. It's really an interesting property because, and I think this week in particular, it's just something to bring up. There's a tremendous amount of potential for water to flow down that creek. And, you know, I've also got a house in Santa Barbara. My wife lived in Montecito in a little gardener shack, and for decades, you know, she watched the boulders and heard them at night coming down the creeks. And people kept rebuilding. And, you know, she saw this in the early 60s. She saw it in the 70s, you know, and then people got wiped out the last time. Finally, the county bought the property. This is a place where, you know, the owner would have to be careful where they build. And there's not much area to build unless you do some serious tractor work to knock out boulders to get to the center, north center of the property. You're going to be in that lower section. But there's still a tremendous amount of area to be able to build. So my point is that the easement as it exists does not prevent you from doing a cut and fill and putting a nice sized house in that upper area. And I came back to my place and I looked at it off of Peregrine. I looked at the slope and the rise and the distance from the driveway, the street, to the house, and the distance to where the top of the cut and fill was when they did it. It's very doable, and the driveway slope and everything wouldn't be nearly as bad as what it is on Peregrine. So it's completely doable. You know, a four-wheel drive can get on it in bad weather without a problem. So that's my opinion, but based on what I've seen. Questions?
Yeah, I got a couple. Just so we're on the same page, I'm going to have a point.
Yeah.
We have point. Do we have point already? Okay, so this is the southern property line, correct? This purple one here?
Right, yeah.
And the northerly one is this one that's going
Correct.
out of top,
Correct.
yes? So what we're not seeing there is the easement boundary, which is inside of this purple one here, correct?
Yeah, your finger's low, but it'd be purple just adjacent to the red there. And it'd be 100 feet off that. It's 100 feet off that line as a rectangle, the full distance right now.
So, as I understood the concern, at least when Jeff was here, his concern, and it was my concern too, is the restricted nature of the apex of that property that purple line coming down and the one coming across this way.
Right.
At Jack Springs, at the cul-de-sac, or
Right.
the road there.
Right.
And is there enough, well, put it this way, it looks on the maps that we have in our packet that the easement actually cuts off the, into this line up here on the top northerly line. Is that not true, or is there space in here between the northerly boundary and the easement boundary?
You'd have to bring up the prior, diagram, and it's a little fuzzy, but it may show us.
Yeah.
That's the only
has a
document
little
we have which shows the
parallel
easement.
kind of
Because if I understood that,
alleyway.
the questions we had at the time, it was like, well, do they even have access to the property?
Yeah, they do.
That was one
Easements don't prevent access to either party.
Okay.
And so, I understand I'm not a lawyer, but I've read a lot of stuff and I've been involved in this before, but the easements, all they do is allow us as residents of Stallion access for ingress and egress. And they can develop it any way they want as long as it doesn't prevent our access. You're right, it goes the full distance.
So,
So within that 100 feet, they wouldn't put a structure on that, on that northernmost section of the purple line,
within 100, you're saying in the easement
the
part?
last part of the rectangle.
Right.
From a trail perspective, the entry point at Jack Springs and just leading all the way up towards Jack's Hill is all we're concerned about.
There we go.
So, what I observed when I went out there was
I was
There
trying,
it is.
trying to zoom in on it, right there.
that
Yeah.
what's really critical to allowing egress and ingress into the property is there's a creek that runs really
Alongside of Jack Springs.
almost directly down the north. I couldn't actually,
Yeah.
where are we here? What happened? Here, okay.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty much right here. Well, it's
Correct.
right there. And it's cutting along the cul-de-sac there.
Right.
And then coming out.
Right.
And that's the flooding we're concerned about. So, in my view of it, they're going to have to build a bridge to access the property. And it's gonna have to be a bridge that's gonna handle the amount of water that's gonna come down there. I was gonna go and take a video this, Saturday, but I didn't feel like it was raining hard enough, given the fact that the ground wasn't saturated to really show anything. So I didn't get any video of what Steve so aptly described, in terms of water actually coming down there and being an issue. So there's gonna have to be a bridge into the property, and the bridge can be built, well, probably should be built up to the northerly portion of the property boundaries, the way I was looking at it. Because once it comes down into the cul-de-sac, it actually goes around the cul-de-sac and empties out into,
Unless it's real heavy and then it wipes out the cul-de-sac, yeah.
right, and I mean, that's gonna be an issue for them. They're gonna have to have a hydrologist out there and get an idea of, what that little watershed, Steve's hiked it, it's 33 acres, and there's at least one tributary to the main, dry creek there. So it's gonna be an issue for them. But what I don't see is that really there's anything we can do for them in that the access is gonna be controlled through a narrow passage anyway, that being a bridge to get onto the property. So I'm not sure that us addressing any part of the easement and ceding any part of it to them would really be of any value.
Yeah, from a user's perspective of the easement, anything within that 100 feet, technically you could use. So if that bridge was in the 100 feet,
Right.
You could cross it. But for the user's perspective, we don't require a bridge to do that. But we would, like we did over on, by Horse Thief, where we did all that rock work, if it's eroding to the point where it's dangerous for people to cross, we might go in and do some maintenance on that at some point. But we don't care how developed or undeveloped it is. We just want to make sure we can get across.
And what I saw was from the northerly boundary into the property, once you're across the creek bed, you could probably get a 2,000 square foot footprint in there before getting into the easement. I think you only have to be like 3 feet from the easement in Kern County to be legal. So, I mean, you're building a 2-story house, it's a 4,000 square foot house. But having seen the property, I can understand why they wanted us to see the easement to them, because there's more buildable land off to the south of, in the
Right.
easement.
Right, but I shot some lines and, you know, it's an easy, within 250 feet, the rise isn't so much that you could build a direct driveway or, you know, a roundabout driveway to get up to where cut and fill rise was, up where the oaks are, and you'd be well off the water line of a rising creek. And
Right.
And where the water would pan out, you'd be above that as well. So that's probably, the safe spot wouldn't be to build on the southeastern portion, where there's no boulders. The safe spot would be more tucked into the northeastern, below where the boulders are.
The northeast portion being the safe spot.
Of that spot where you don't see
Right.
the red rocks.
Yeah, that was what I determined as
Right.
well. But now you've hiked it. Are there any other, I mean, if they were to build a road that went on up,
Right.
are there any other places that are buildable? I think you said there might be up there.
Well, there is, if you look right above it, the proper, where it says 448-25013, it's an eye test here. That's their property up there as well. They would have to go from Dax. I don't see another pathway, but I think they would follow the westerly property line and shoot north along that line, and then get up into that area, and you've got several acres in that center spot of the property up there. Yeah, anywhere up in there. You can see that the contour lines where they're not really close together.
Yeah.
As you go further north,
Right.
they're further apart, so it's flatter land. Because I think I had the contours all set on 10 feet. So, you know, you get up there and that's all buildable. You just have to have an approach. The only way I could figure it out is taking out some of those really boulder clusters that are right down by the creek, which in itself would be a problem. So somewhere there, or just coming in a bit, shooting up through the yellow. But that's an engineering and Caterpillar challenge. But, you know, they bought it for a reason. So, I mean, it's great for their kids. You can just climb all over that place. I mean, man, unbelievable. But I could see popping through that part there. That would be what I'd want to do, and then go up in the middle. You wouldn't pull electricity. You'd run a water line. You'd just run on solar and batteries up there. You know, just drop a 2-inch line. Because the pressure's fine. It's all coming off the tank on the top of Jack's above your place. So it's going to have all the pressure we've got everywhere else. So water's not going to be an issue. And it's just access. Yeah.
One other thing, you mentioned, you kept saying trail. I think you were referring to your track. There isn't actually a trail there.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
There's no trail. No, you wouldn't want a trail there. You wouldn't. Basically, you want people to wander and find their own way within the easement, so you're not wearing it out. Because it's so slopey, you don't want it to tear it up.
Well, which is why you would want to construct switchbacks at some point if you were concerned about erosion. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I don't see people using this. I mean, there'll be the sturdy folks that'll get out there and do it. But the people that walk, you know, around, you know, the trail over off of Horse Deep, I don't see them coming over here and doing this. You know, or Brandon Iron. It's just, it's a different kind of challenge.
You did mention narrowing. What would be the benefit?
I'm sorry?
You mentioned narrowing, like we could narrow, but
well,
what would be
their
the benefit
request was
to
to
that?
eliminate it originally, and then I suggested we might be able to narrow it. And so that's why I went out there to see if that would really work, and it really doesn't, given the need to do the switchbacks on the climb. But the lower section, you know, you could, because it's a straight shot. You know, you could do 20, 25 feet down there, but it's sort of pointless. You know, because you're not going to build there because that's within the pan and where the water's going to go when it's flooding.
Thank you. Okay.
I would agree with Director Duell. I went out and looked at the property and just, wow. I don't even know if you could pitch a tent on it right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know that eliminating it or reducing the easement is going to do them any good. Certainly wouldn't do us any good.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any more?
Ma'am?
Thank you so
Got a
much.
question?
Come up to the podium. No, you did great. I'm new here.
Can you give us your name, please?
My name is Carol Torres.
Okay.
And I'm new here, and 2.5 years, and I'm loving it so far. And I have a property up the hill on Mustang. It's between Comanche and Horse Thief on Mustang. And there's a hiking horse trail next to my property, and it's the trail signs. They're blurry. You don't even know. I see people riding horses, which I don't mind because they're mainly going to my neighbor down the slope. But it goes into the street, not along my neighbor's property. It's undeveloped. And so, and then on Facebook, somebody was saying, hey, let's restore the horse trails. I'm new here. Not me, but someone else. I'm new here, and let's restore the horse trails and hiking trails, because there's not much to do around here so far. When my mother bought in 72, there was a resort here, and now it was westward, and long story short, so me and mine, because we're all still kind of young, would love to walk these trails, ride horses, things like that, but you can't tell where they are anymore. And so that would be ideal, I think. I see people walking the Comanche Road, that's dangerous. They go 60 miles an hour sometimes down there. So I agree with having, trails that we can hike, because that's really the only thing left to do around here. So that was my two.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
That's something we've been dealing with, and Steve's been at the point of this for a while, restoring trails, but it's a lot of manpower, a lot of expense. But if you take a look at the development maps of the area, all the easements, nearly all the easements are specified as equestrian and hiking trails. And so there are places, which this is one of them, where there is no established trail right now, but it was in the original plan, and that's what we have to consider here.
And are the maps?
So this person, he lives in town, and he wants to ride a horse, he wants to hike, he goes to hike. And are we allowed to restore these trails ourselves? Like, if we volunteer?
There's a group that does volunteer. It's not consistent depending on the weather, how many people are available and whatnot. I would suggest that you get in touch with them. My understanding is you maintain your own easement on your property. Another suggestion would be to come to another meeting, because we don't want to get off track, and to ask to be placed on the agenda, more about the trails, and possibly forming a new committee in regards to the trails. I think that would probably be the best way for you to handle that. And then just to let you know that there are maps here at the office that give you every single trail, so that you can see which trails are passable, which trails are not, and where you can possibly hike. There is a lot.
Yeah, I have that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Chair Sassett, if
Yes.
I may. Ma'am, it's a shame Director Stock could not be here this evening, but he is starting to form a group of volunteers. We've had a lot of people recently, several people come in and sign waivers, and they're working with Jeff and Steve to try to restore some of the trails and volunteer to, weed whack and things like that. So if you can come back to another meeting, I would love to introduce you to Director Stock.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so do we need a vote on whether or not to abandon the easement on parcel number 448-25013? Do we have a motion?
I move that we don't abandon.
the easement in question.
Second.
All in favor of not abandoning the easement on parcel number 448-25013?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion not to abandon easement on parcel number 448-25013. Motion carries. Thank you for that.
And just to clarify, that would also cover not making an adjustment like.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to item number 11, which is our committee reports. And thank you for that.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
All right. So we have our committee reports
Director
for
Hager,
Measure A.
you did not meet.
I'm sorry?
We did not meet.
No. No, we did not. We have not met yet.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so we'll move on to item number 12, which is our general manager's report.
Thank you. So as always, on my general manager's report every month, I did attend the Regional Park and Recreation Management meeting representing Stallion Springs. We did a lot of discussion this month about all of the wonderful activities for the holidays in the greater Tehachapi area and doing our best to collaborate calendars. We actually, here in Stallion, we moved our holiday boutique and breakfast with Santa a week earlier than we did it last year, not to compete with the city of Tehachapi's hometown Christmas and Christmas parade activities, and it accidentally created an environment where our holiday boutique this year is actually on National Small Business Saturday. So we really got to tie that in, and we're really promoting it to celebrate small businesses. And so that is actually coming up the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We got some feedback last year also that we were late enough that people felt if they had already done their shopping and didn't need to, so hopefully moving it up is going to be a good thing, but we'll see, hopefully. Met with staff and we did a debriefing on Oktoberfest. As always, every year we learn something new and decide that we're, tweaking the floor plan a little bit. There was some discussion about the cornhole tournament that sort of didn't happen. Nobody really signed up for it. There were a couple people, though, that wanted to play cornhole, so maybe we just do a little area of a couple of boards this year instead of the large footprint, and possibly moving some vendors over into that area so that we can accommodate more vendors, because we had to turn some vendors away this year. So we don't have numbers on Oktoberfest yet. We're still gathering everything, but hopefully maybe I can report out on that next month. Also met with recreation staff and we discussed the swimming pool financials and changes that we'll need to make next year. I will publicly share with the board and the audience and anybody listening that last year the pool lost $22,000. We made some changes and narrowed it slightly. This year it lost $14,000. The majority of the costs are chemicals and utilities and lifeguards, all of which we cannot do without to operate a public swimming pool. So we need to make some more changes. We need to maybe find a major sponsor. Hint, if anyone's listening and would like to sponsor our pool next year, see me. So we're making some changes there. RFID tags, they are the little tags, the little computer chip tags that go in your windshield so that you access the trash site. The cost of those tags were $9.65 each last year. This year, they've increased to $18.75. They've almost doubled. We suspect it has to do with the fact that they are little computer chips that come from overseas and some of the extra costs that are implemented in bringing things over from other countries. In the past, the district's practice was to issue a new resident their first RFID tag for free. And any replacement tag, if you got a new car later on, or you had to replace your windshield for some reason, things like that, that would be considered a replacement tag. Those were $20 each. Because of the substantial increase in the district's cost, January 1st of 2026, all tags will now be $20. And we will be doing a campaign so all residents are aware. Although if you're a new resident, that's the only person it would apply to, so they probably don't know that it was free before. But we'll still, make sure that everybody is up to speed on that. And then I already thanked Woodward, so I'll thank Woodward again. Park and Rec, very busy. Our gymnasium has become very popular, and we now have designated volleyball day for open gym. It's been very popular. So the volleyball leagues continue to utilize our gym for their practices. We are starting to work on springtime activities already, as well as spring boutique and, dare I say, Easter egg hunt before Thanksgiving. But I just did. And then you do have your field staff report. As always, our public works staff does a lot with a little. They have low staffing levels, and they work really hard. So if you see them out on the road, working on the side of the road, please slow down, please use caution, but also maybe give them a little wave and a thank you if you see them around. Thank you. If there's any questions.
All right, do we have any questions for our general manager?
I just have a brief comment. I think you have just confirmed which comes first, the turkey or the egg. The egg.
Whoops.
Okay. All right, we need a motion to receive and file our general manager's report.
I make a motion that we receive and file the general manager's report.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. All right. So thank you for that. We just need a motion to adjourn.
I make motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. And